3 decades. 0 failed shipments. 1 rural clan owning Europe's economy. Every empire has a ledger. Even the invisible ones. You might think of the mafia as a relic of the past, but the Ndrangheta is a modern financial titan that operates with the precision of a Swiss bank. I've got the proof. While you're stressed about mortgages and inflation, this group rakes in $60 billion a year. More than McDonald's and Coca-Cola combined. Check out this hidden superpower. This group doesn't just break laws, they're creating a whole parallel economy right under our noses. The truth is, the Ndrangheta is not just a gang. It is a global broker. Here's what nobody else will tell you. They have successfully infiltrated the legitimate financial systems you use every single day without you ever noticing. But to understand how they own Europe, you have to look at the numbers. They aren't just selling products, they are managing a global supply chain that rivals Amazon in efficiency and exceeds it in total secrecy. Here's what they don't tell you about their origins. They started in the rugged mountains of Calabria, Italy. But don't let the rural aesthetic fool you. This is the most sophisticated corporate structure on the planet right now. This is not a bug in the global economy. This is the design. The Ndrangheta operates on a principle of blood and silence, but their true power lies in their balance sheets and their ability to move capital. But here's where it gets interesting for your understanding. They didn't just get lucky. They used a specific financial playbook to seize control of the world's most lucrative trade, and they did it while the world was looking elsewhere. Remember this number, 60 billion. It becomes important later when we look at how they influence the banks where you keep your savings. This isn't just a story about criminals, it's a story about your money. Sound familiar? It should. The way they consolidate power is the same way any monopoly does. They eliminate competition, control the supply chain, and buy the regulators. Same playbook, different flag. The pattern is always there. Now let me show you the structure that makes them invincible. Unlike the Sicilian mafia, which you've seen in movies, the Ndrangheta is built on blood ties. Every member is family. This makes them almost impossible for police to infiltrate. Here's the critical part of their business model. Because they are family, there are almost no informants. You can't flip a brother against a brother. This internal stability allows them to focus entirely on their global financial expansion. The data reveals a terrifying level of discipline. While other groups were fighting internal wars, the Ndrangheta was quietly buying up real estate in Germany, Canada, and Australia. They were thinking in decades while others thought in days. But the real story is in the numbers. Let's look at their primary revenue stream. They control over 80% of the cocaine entering Europe. That is a near monopoly on a product with infinite demand and zero regulation. Here's the first piece of evidence from the Demos Eurispes report. In a single year, their drug trafficking revenue exceeded $25 billion. I've linked the full report in the description for you to see the scale yourself. Think about your own local economy for a second. When that much cash enters a system, it doesn't just sit in a vault. It moves, it buys businesses, it corrupts officials, it changes the very fabric of your community. This isn't theory, this is mathematics. When you have 25 billion in cash, you become the bank. You start lending to legitimate businesses that can't get loans elsewhere. You become the silent partner in the shops you visit. Let me show you the first piece of evidence regarding their brokerage role. They don't just move drugs. They provide logistics for other cartels. They are the FedEx of the underworld. They take the risk and they take the profit. You're part of this system whether you like it or not. Every time you use a financial service that lacks transparency, you might be interacting with their shadow. They thrive in the gray areas of the global banking system. Here's what the official story gets wrong. The media focuses on the arrests, but they miss the reinvestment. For every dollar seized, the Ndrangheta has 10 more already laundered into the legal economy. It is a losing battle. The official story is that they are mountain bandits. The real story is that they are sophisticated global brokers who speak the language of international finance. They call it a criminal gang, but it's really a parallel state. Governments promise to stop the flow of illicit cash, but in practice the money is too integrated to remove. If you pulled all Ndrangheta capital out of the European banking system today, the entire economy might actually collapse. Now here's what makes this dangerous for you. When a criminal organization has this much capital, they don't just follow the market, they make the market. They can outbid you for real estate and outspend you in any business. Stay with me, because the next part changes everything. We are going to look at Operation Pollino. This was a massive European crackdown that revealed exactly how they manage their international logistics and their secret bank accounts. Operation Pollino showed that they were using pizzerias and ice cream parlors across Europe as front companies. But these weren't just small shops. They were high-volume money laundering hubs moving millions of euros every single week. Here's the mechanism they don't want you to see. They use a system called hawala to move money without it ever crossing a physical border. It is an ancient, paperless banking system that leaves no digital footprint for investigators. Anyone with a calculator can see the problem here. If you can move $100 million with a simple phone call and no record, the traditional banking regulations you follow are completely useless against them. They are ahead. This validates your suspicion that the system is rigged. While you are tracked for every transaction over $10,000, they are moving billions through a network of trusted associates who never sign a single piece of paper. Now here's where most people get this wrong. They think this money stays in the underworld. It doesn't. It flows into construction, green energy, and even healthcare. Your tax dollars might be paying for services owned by them. The Ndrangheta loves the construction industry. Why? Because it allows them to move massive amounts of capital into tangible assets. They build the apartments you live in and the roads you drive on with laundered drug money. Let me show you the pattern. First, they dominate the drug trade. Second, they accumulate massive cash reserves. Third, they buy legitimate businesses to clean that cash. Fourth, they use those businesses to gain political influence and power. Same pattern, same stages, same result. They have done this in Italy, then in Germany, and now they are doing it globally. The pattern is always there if you know where to look in the financial records. But here's the question nobody asks. Who is helping them? You don't move $60 billion a year without professional help. They employ the best lawyers, the best accountants, and the best bankers that money can buy. This is not a flaw in the system. This is the feature. The global financial system is designed for the free movement of capital, and the Ndrangheta is simply the most efficient user of that freedom. They are the experts. The cost of not knowing this is your own financial awareness. While you follow the rules, they are rewriting them. They are the silent shareholders in the global economy, and they are growing more powerful every single day. Let me show you who loses in this scenario. It's you. When they flood a market with laundered cash, they drive up prices. They create unfair competition. They destroy the small businesses that actually follow the law and pay taxes. Stay with me, because the next part changes everything. We are going to look at the infiltration of the German economy. This is the heart of Europe, and the Ndrangheta has been quietly buying it for over 40 years. In the city of Duisburg, a 2007 shooting revealed the depth of their presence. But the shooting was just the tip of the iceberg. The real story was the hundreds of businesses they owned in the surrounding area. The Italian DIA reports, which I've linked below, show that the Ndrangheta considers Germany their second home. They use the stability of the German economy to protect their wealth from the volatility of the criminal world. Think about that. They are using the very systems designed to protect your wealth to protect their own. They are the ultimate hedge fund, diversified across continents and industries, all built on a foundation of illicit drug profits. Here's what the data reveals about their Canadian operations. They have established a massive presence in the Greater Toronto area, using the construction and trucking industries to move both products and cash across the North American border. Sound familiar? It should. They use the same infiltration tactics in every country they enter. They find a vulnerable industry, provide cheap capital, and slowly take control from the inside out. They are the ultimate corporate raiders. But here's the twist you didn't see coming. They are now moving into cybercrime and cryptocurrency. While they still love cash, they are adapting to the digital age faster than the law enforcement agencies trying to stop them. What I'm about to show you is the mechanism of their modern laundering. They use crypto mixers to blur the origins of their digital wealth. This allows them to move millions in Bitcoin as easily as they move suitcases of cash. This isn't prophecy. This is mathematics. As the world goes digital, the Ndrangheta is ensuring they own the digital infrastructure of the underworld. They are becoming the primary service providers for the next generation of global criminals. You're paying for this through increased security costs and lost tax revenue. Every billion they launder is a billion that isn't building schools or hospitals. You are the one subsidizing their parallel economy through your own compliance. Here's why this matters today. The global economy is currently in a state of flux, and the Ndrangheta thrives on instability. When legitimate credit dries up, their cash becomes even more valuable to desperate businesses and corrupt politicians. Right now, the same mechanism is happening in the green energy sector. They are investing heavily in wind and solar farms because these projects often come with massive government subsidies and less oversight than traditional energy projects. Let me show you exactly how this works. They use front companies to win government contracts. They then use those contracts to launder money while also collecting your tax dollars as profit. It is a perfect self-sustaining loop. This is the ultimate few versus many contrast. A few thousand family members in Calabria are influencing the economic lives of millions of people across Europe and the Americas. They are the elite and you are the many. Powerful groups like the Ndrangheta protect themselves by staying invisible and integrated. Meanwhile, ordinary people like you suffer the consequences of a distorted market and a corrupted political system. Today, the pattern is repeating itself. The official story is that the authorities are winning. The real story is that the Ndrangheta has already won by becoming too big to fail. They are now an essential, albeit hidden, part of the global financial architecture. Here's the mechanism they don't want you to see. They don't just buy politicians, they buy the entire economic environment. They create a world where it is easier to work with them than it is to fight them. But here's the critical part for your future. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. You start to notice the businesses that don't make sense. You start to see the flow of capital that has no clear origin. Anyone with a calculator can see that the current enforcement model is failing. We are trying to stop a $60 billion empire with budgets that are a fraction of their annual marketing spend. It is mathematically impossible to win. The math says that as long as there is a demand for their products and a way to hide their profits, the Ndrangheta will continue to grow. They are the ultimate survivors in the jungle of global capitalism. Here's what nobody else will tell you. The Ndrangheta is now moving into the legal pharmaceutical trade. They are using their global logistics network to move counterfeit and diverted medicines, a trade that is even more profitable than drugs. This is not a theory, this is documented in recent Europol reports. They are diversifying their portfolio to include anything that generates high margins with low risk. They are the ultimate opportunistic investors in the shadow world. By the time most people realize the scale of the problem, it will be too late. The Ndrangheta will be so deeply embedded in the legal economy that removing them will be like trying to remove a nervous system. While you're not paying attention, they are buying the debt of your local governments. They are becoming the creditors of the states that are supposed to be policing them. This is the ultimate reversal of power and authority. Every day this continues. You lose a little more of the transparency that makes a fair economy possible. The Ndrangheta thrives in the dark, and they are working hard to make sure the lights stay off forever. Let me show you the pattern one more time. They find a gap in the system, they fill it with cash, and they build a wall of silence around it. Same playbook, different flag. It never changes. The pattern is always there. 3 decades, 3 continents, one result, they have successfully built a parallel economy that is now larger than the GDP of many sovereign nations. They are the invisible kings of Europe. Now let me show you who really profits. It's not just the guys in the mountains. It's the banks that take their deposits, the real estate agents who close their deals, and the luxury brands that take their cash. This is not a bug. This is the design. The global economy is a machine that processes capital, and it doesn't care if that capital is clean or dirty. The Ndrangheta simply provides the fuel for that machine. What makes this dangerous today is the rise of shadow banking. Right now, the same mechanism that allowed the Ndrangheta to grow is being used by other groups to evade sanctions and move wealth across borders undetected. You're part of this, whether you like it or not. Your pension fund might be invested in a company that is unknowingly doing business with a Ndrangheta front. The web is that deep and that interconnected for everyone. Here's the truth they don't want you to know. The Ndrangheta is not an Italian problem. It is a global financial crisis that we are choosing to ignore because the money they bring is too tempting to refuse. But here's the question you should ask yourself. What happens when the shadow economy becomes larger than the legal one? What happens when the people who break the law are the ones who own the law? This isn't speculation. This is the direction we are heading. The Ndrangheta is the blueprint for the future of organized crime, where the line between a criminal enterprise and a global corporation completely disappears into the gray. Let me show you the evidence from the latest DIA reports. They are now using artificial intelligence to optimize their money laundering routes. They are investing in technology to stay ahead of the very people tracking them. This isn't prophecy. This is mathematics. If they have more money to invest in tech than the police, they will always be one step ahead. It is a simple equation of resources and intent that they are winning. Sound familiar? It should. It's the same way any tech giant stays ahead of the competition. They out-invest, out-innovate, and outmaneuver. The only difference is that their product is illegal and their methods are often deadly. But here's the catch. Their power only works as long as it stays hidden. Once the ledger is exposed, the system starts to crumble. That is why they fear transparency more than they fear the police or the courts. The numbers tell a tough story. We're losing, but knowing how it works is the first step to changing things up. Before I give you the 3 takeaways, think about your own financial footprint. Are you supporting the systems that allow this to happen? Are you demanding the transparency that would make their business model impossible to sustain? The Ndrangheta is a mirror of our own global economy. They show us the dark side of the free movement of capital and the consequences of a world where profit is the only metric that truly matters to anyone. So what should you take from this? First, understand that organized crime is not chaos. It is a highly structured, disciplined business that operates with a long-term strategic vision that rivals any Fortune 500 company you know. Second, realize that the Ndrangheta is a global financial actor, not a local Italian gang. Their influence is in your banks, your real estate markets, and your political systems, regardless of where you live in the world today. Keep an eye on where the money flows. If you spot huge wealth with no clear source, dig deeper. Transparency can expose hidden power. This is real life, not theory. Once you see the ledger, the truth about the Ndrangheta and the parallel economy hits hard.